Hello guys, welcome to my last vlog for Korea and UNB Study Abroad Scholarship. I wanted to talk to you guys about a few things. I'm going to try to keep this vlog as short and as cohesive as possible, but I do want to touch upon multiple topics just to make sure that my experience is as transparent as possible to anyone watching. I want to start off by saying I had an amazing time in South Korea. I think I learned a lot about myself. I think I learned a lot about the culture and the society that I have never been able to see growing up in America. And like I said before, from my first video I've ever made talking about Korea, I think it really just showed me how many similarities and how many differences of the expectations I had for Korea. First thing I can say is that I really appreciate how much of a collectivism Korea does care about, everyone. And you really do feel that consideration. Can't say the same for America, unfortunately, but I am hoping that we will slowly but surely get there at a point. But I think the way that there were so many different built infrastructures that were made for the public, for the community, that again you could just appreciate. For example, during the summer they had these water fountains, not really fountains, but like these mini water parks where you can kind of just cool off, dip your feet in, sit there, talk, chat, and then continue walking or continue about your day. I think that was very considerate of the government and of the country. They also have these little playstations for families, just for children to kind of run along and cool off during those intense heat days, because there were some very humid, hot days in Korea. I feel like those moments were really cherished among the community. You can really see a lot of people out and about and just enjoying the sun, enjoying the water, enjoying again what the community has for them. I also feel like the walking was really, really, really helpful. For me, I never really realized how much walking was so important in Korean culture. I think that I've heard stories about grandparents or the elderly or just older generations prioritizing walking, prioritizing moving your body. And I feel like a lot of things in America is sedentary. You can just kind of sit down and not really have to worry about moving around a lot. Meanwhile, it's kind of the opposite in Korea, where it's you have a break, you should go take a walk. You have time to eat lunch, you should go somewhere to go eat lunch. I wanted to talk about the food. This, in my opinion, deserves its own segment. I love the food in Korea. It was one of the best parts and one of the biggest reasons why I wanted to go. Before coming to Korea, I had tasted a few dishes like bibimbap and soft tofu soup. I'm forgetting the name in Korean, but actually being able to taste its authentic taste and its authentic, having that dish in its actual origin makes so much of a difference. Not only was it a lot more affordable, it was a lot more genuine. I could actually taste certain spices and taste the actual food I was eating. So I feel like that really just shows how amazing it is that the food quality is so high up, but the price for food is so low. And I think it just goes to show that Koreans care about what they're consuming and what they're, spending their money on. Some little things to note. Not everything is as affordable in Korea as people make it seem. A lot of people in my group, a lot of people that I knew kind of went there because they assumed that everything was going to be half the price. No, I think there's certain things that you have to pay more for, and there's certain things you can pay less for. If there's a demand, obviously you're going to pay more for it. If it's part of everyday life, you're not going to pay as much. For example, it was acrylic nails. In America, acrylic nails can be from $70 to $90. In Korea, I think it was $80 to $100, something like that. It was either the same range or even more. So it just goes to show that no, just because the currency is different, just because one may be less than what you think it's going to be, that doesn't mean it's actually going to be more affordable. it was tough. It was definitely a tough experience, but I think that it was worth it, and I've learned so much about myself. I've learned so much about my strengths and my weaknesses, and I think the greatest part, or the greatest thing about studying abroad is just you're challenging yourself so much. That first week and a half, maybe even 2 weeks of me living in Korea, I told myself, why are you here? Why are you doing this? It's such a big push, and you weren't prepared for this, and you weren't ready for this. And I think that now looking back, I was definitely being dramatic, but that was my way of coping. That was my way of subconsciously trying to resist the change and resist the adaptability, the flexibility that comes with, again, going to a foreign country, going to a new country that you have no idea of the customs, of the culture, of the way of life. And I think, again, the way that I embraced it, I slowly but surely embraced it. I started to appreciate the culture. I started to enjoy what I was doing. It really just shows that if I can do it, anyone can do it. And now I've kind of reached that mindset of I can do anything I put my mind to. I can push myself to those limits. It's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be hard. It's going to be, not the best thing in the world. But at the end of that journey, the results are so worth it, and it shows. Even throughout that journey, you get to appreciate a lot more things that you wouldn't have been able to really look at with a new lens without having to go through that experience, if that makes sense. It's made me so much more appreciative of my possibilities and of the opportunities that I give myself and that I allow myself to bask in. The only thing I would do differently would be change my host institution. I would not go to Korea University if I would be studying abroad. That there were multiple things that went a little off when I went over there. Number one for me was miscommunication. There was just a lack of communication on the school's part on multiple things that could, again, make or break the trip or could make things a lot more smoother. It was a little disgruntling to have to kind of figure things along the way, especially in a place where we're supposed to get that support. I didn't want to let that overtake or dictate the way that I was going to feel about such a beautiful and amazing country. So I decided to, again, take the reins, take things into my own hands. And also want to clarify, this has nothing to do with my professors. My professors were amazing. I got A+ in both my classes because of them and because of the way that they taught their classes and were wanting each and every one of us to thrive. My issue was with the institution and the way that things were run. Another problem I had was the cultural activities, the way that they were essentially scheduled. They would schedule certain cultural activities so that people wouldn't be able to join them because they had them during class time. So if I was in a period 2 class, they would schedule certain cultural activities for that period, the second period. And again, I don't think that's fair. I think it takes away from their promise or their marketing, because they make it seem like they're going to make every Korea University student that's a part of that program go to at least one cultural event and yada bing yada boom. In reality, that wasn't what happened. And a lot of the time, actually 95% of the time, we had to do things on our own. We had to figure out things, what we wanted to do culturally, what we wanted Korea to be for us, which can be really scary. And it was scary. So I would not recommend going to Korea University. And there's more information based off the dorms and living conditions, etc., etc. If you guys have any questions about that, please let me know. But I loved my experience. I wouldn't trade it for the world. And I think it just goes to show that you need a balance. You can't just have all good stuff or all bad stuff. You need both.